we know from experience, you, me, all of you, we know from experience that getting the weight off fast never lasts. How is it August? This year has flown by, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, it's only March.
I know.
We have so much time left of the year, and I have no plans, and this is gonna be so nice to not have all these plans, and then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, now we're almost like to the holidays again, and like there's a bunch of plans, and this whole summer was filled with plans, and I don't understand how this happened. Okay. In this video, we're going to focus on this holy shit, how did this happen type of a feeling, but not the fact that, oh my gosh, it's August all of a sudden. It's, oh my gosh, it's the end of August and I just spent the whole summer eating like an asshole, even though I said I was not going to eat like an asshole, and now I'm 10 pounds heavier than when the summer started. I really don't want to roll into the holidays being 10 pounds overweight because I'm worried about gaining even more weight. So in this video, we are going to act as if we were you, as if we gained 10 pounds over the summer, and tell you exactly what we would do to get the weight off before going into the holidays.
From my experience, a lot of times this happens when you have vacation or like a lot of things kind of going on early August. The weather starts to go from it's super, super hot to you're kind of ready for like the colder weather to come. You're kind of over the heat, you're kind of sick of it, you're kind of ready to be back in the swing of things. You're kind of like in a little bit of a f**king mode. Let's say you have a trip planned for beginning or like mid-August, and towards the end of that trip, you just kind of like, whatever. I didn't do as great, didn't make the progress I expected to make over the summer. It is what it is. I'm just gonna enjoy myself. Fall's coming and whatever, and I'll just like go back to like normal dieting afterwards. And the problem is that this kind of continues. This usually continues into Labor Day weekend when that's your last food hurrah for the summer, and you kind of go out with a bang. Everything goes out the window that you've learned. It's fine, I'll be good. I just want to get to this last week and enjoy myself, and then I'll be serious. You gain 10 pounds, probably more. Guess what? This time it is real weight that you had gained. This is not water weight. You've actually put on weight because you overdid it. And now you're going into the colder weather and you have to put on bulky sweaters and try to hide yourself because you got bigger. A lot of you do that. That usually is what happens. Gain the weight over the summer, you kind of say screw it, you go through Labor Day weekend, you blow it again, and then you kind of roll into the fall. The colder weather comes, and so you're able to hide your body more. It slides because you're like, well, you try to diet through the holidays, can't really do it.
Yeah.
You gain 30 pounds by the time New Year's comes, and you're like, okay, January 1st, I'll be good.
Gonna go hard.
So what we don't want to do is let it get to that point. Let's say you gain 10 pounds. We don't want to gain 30 pounds by January 1st this year like we do every year. Okay, so what we need to do is nip the 10 pounds in the bud and be able to like move on like adults. What are we going to do to get the 10 pounds off that don't require us to crash diet, jump on keto, to do intermittent fasting, go back on Weight Watchers?
That entire scenario that Melissa just outlined is a scenario that we lived year after year after year after year, decade after decade, and every year we told ourselves, that's not gonna happen this year. And every year it happened, no matter how hard we were dieting, no matter how much we promised things were gonna change. First thing that you're going to do is realize that this 10 pounds, it may be 10 pounds of body fat. It also may be 6 pounds of body fat and 4 pounds of like inflammation. When you're in that like screw it mode, you have more alcohol, you're eating more highly palatable food. So it's more sugar, it's more salt, it's more oil, it's more all of the things that like are not good for your body. Your body in turn is holding on to water. There's a lot of inflammation. Your digestion's probably not running optimally. The absolute first thing that I would do is I would start drinking my water. I would make it a non-negotiable that I have to get a gallon of water in a day, and I would start prioritizing my vegetables and my protein. I would even maybe go to like 90% of your calories are coming from wholesome, nutritious foods, and only 10% are coming from more fun foods. Let's be real, you just had a couple of weeks or maybe even a couple of months of having
your entire
all the
month
fun
is
foods.
probably like the 20%. Instead of thinking like, what do I need to eliminate from my diet right now? I want you to think about, what do I need to add to my diet? So we need to add more water, we need to add more vegetables, more protein. We need to add these things back in so that our bodies start to feel better. Right. You're not gonna be craving those things that like you really overdid it with over the summer.
Plus your body needs those nutrients, right? Like we know that we feel better when we have like good nutritious food in our system. Once you start bringing water back in, you start prioritizing those nutrients and fibers and protein, your digestion is gonna start to work better. You're not gonna be as bloated. You're not gonna feel as fluffy, as inflamed. That's like a quick way within probably a good 2 weeks that you can probably drop like 3 or 4 pounds just by like getting back to normal. The next thing that I would do is, again, make it a non-negotiable 10,000 steps a day. I think when you get to this point where you're feeling really big and you're feeling really fluffy, you're like, shit, I gotta start doing cardio. Maybe I have to like go to the gym once to strength train, do a HIIT class, then go to spin class, and like do as much cardio as I can to burn off all of this food that I ate. But your body doesn't work that way. Sometimes when you overdo it, you're causing more inflammation. The most underrated thing, and I will say it like till we are blue in the face, just fucking walk. It's free, like it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to do anything special, and stop making excuses of why you can't do it. You need to get up earlier, you need to go for a walk on your lunch break, you need to go for a walk after dinner. We have women that are working 3 jobs and like single momming it and doing all of the things, and they're still getting it in. It's just a matter of prioritizing the time. So this is where you really need to look at your schedule and figure out, how am I going to prioritize getting my 10,000 steps in? Because if you can nail those 10,000 steps, you get your water in, you get a bare minimum of 100 grams of protein a day, ideally like 120, 130 grams of protein a day, and you're eating 2 or 3 servings of vegetables a day, you are going to feel so much better in just 2 weeks. Like, I promise you're going to feel exponentially better. When it comes to working out, we always go for like the classes, right? Like, what are the classes what I'm gonna sweat the most in? What is that? Like, we just think we're like burning fat. You're sweating means you're burning fat.
It's my analogy of the mouthwash. If the mouthwash is like burning like your tongue off, you're like, oh my God, it's like working so well. When like you could have another kind of
a natural one.
A natural one, like you don't really feel anything, but like it works probably better. It's the same thing with going to these like classes that like you think because like you're sweating and jumping and like you can't breathe and like you haven't stopped moving for the past 45 minutes, that is going to be the most effective type of workout. Strength training is the most effective workout for burning fat.
We're not playing the short game here, we're playing the long game, and we don't want to go into the holidays gaining all the weight back. So what we're trying to do right now is get back to your foundation and do those foundational habits that you know you'll be able to sustain and that are going to set you up for long-term success. If you're in those classes where you're sweating and you're jumping around, you're doing all the things, that's great because you're sweaty and you're out of breath, and that makes you feel like you're working hard. But in the long run, if we swap those classes for more like dedicated strength training, you might not feel as out of breath, you might not feel like as sweaty, but what you're doing in those strength training sessions is you're putting on more lean muscle tissue. And when you put on more lean muscle tissue, you're actually speeding up your metabolism to burn more calories when you're sleeping, when you're watering your plants, when you're sitting down reading a book. And that's ultimately the end goal if you're trying to lose weight. You want your metabolism to be functioning optimally, and you want to be burning more calories, both while you're active and while you're at rest. I want to talk about like the other wrinkle, which is this is like back to school season. We're just going to preface, like, we cannot relate to being moms.
We have had clients who are moms, and we do have experience coaching clients through this transition of seasons.
Number 1, you almost need to stop acting surprised that you're going back into like chaos.
Yes. We have to stop being a victim of our circumstances. You know you have children. It's not a surprise anymore. Like every time your kid comes running up to you, it's not like, holy shit, where'd you come from? What we need to do is, this is what my life looks like right now. I have children at this age. They go to school at this time, between this time and this time. What can I do to optimize my life around this circumstance?
This is the thing, and that I think that's really important, is we need to start working with the structure of the schedule and lean into the structure of the schedule rather than be like, holy shit, all of these things are gonna get piled back up on my plate again. So let's be preemptive about it. You love blocking off your calendar. You love time blocking. So that could be one really important thing that you do if you are a mom and you're 10 pounds heavier right now and you want to lose this weight. We need to start looking at your week as a whole, because I think what happens too often is people will look at like day to day, be like, I have to go to the gym every single day, and I have to get my cardio in every day, and I have to do this every day. That might not be realistic for you if you have a million kids that you're running all over the place all the time. So we need to kind of zoom out and look at your week as a whole and figure out, how can I plan my schedule to make sure I get my 4 workouts in, even if it's on the weekend? Where am I gonna get my steps in? Some days I only get 6,000 steps in, but other days I get 12 or 13 steps in.
If you didn't really have structure over the summer and then you gain these 10 pounds, kids go back to school and you have to lose the weight, going back to school adds a whole nother layer of stress, right? You have to help them do their homework, like there's activities now on the weekends, there's all these things that are going on. Instead of just being like a victim to the structure, it's kind of like, okay, this is great actually, because now I know the time that I absolutely have to go to the gym. I know the time when I have to get my steps in. It's not left up to chance anymore. Now you can actually make like dedicated plans, and really you can kind of build out what like your weeks look like. If your kids have like the same like practice and all, you know, these things on the weekend and all that, well, hey, you know, if this works for me, like this structure during the week,
repeat it.
let's just repeat this. It's just really about embracing that
And pre-planning.
pre-planning and making it work for you rather than always trying to like fight against it.
The most important thing in all of this, we have to practice patience. You know that feeling when your jeans don't fit and the waist is tight and your legs are like, oh my God, this doesn't fit. And like the shirt that like you maybe started off in the summer where you're like, oh, this looks really good. You're like, now I see my muffin top again.
It's just really disappointing.
And it's like, oh my gosh, I backtracked, right?
Yeah.
I was doing good and then I'm right back to where I started. And you can really get to this place where you're like, number one, what's the point? Or number two, I am so uncomfortable. I need to do something to get this off as fast as I possibly can. We know from experience, you, me, all of you, we know from experience that getting the weight off fast never lasts. Instead of running the same quick fix cycle that you do year after year after year, like you did and like I did and like most women that we know have done, can we commit to being patient? Can we commit to doing the foundational things that we know we need to do? Number one, to feel better. Number two, to optimize our health. And when we feel better and we're living in optimal health, the weight loss is gonna follow. Trying to rush through the process and trying to shove yourself back into a place where you're losing this 10 pounds as quickly as possible, you're gonna be miserable. You're gonna burn out sooner rather than later. You're gonna end up with binge sessions. It's not conducive to that long-term weight loss that you're actually looking for. So practice patience and let's take things slow and steady.
So if this was helpful for you, make sure to let us know in the comments below. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments below and we'll make sure we get them answered for you. And if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to our channel, turn on the bell notification so you get alerts every time we drop a new video, and make sure to like and comment on this video if you want the chance to win a $25 gift card.